Today, we're talking about a name that's become synonymous with some of the most disturbing crimes of the 20th century. He was handsome, he was charismatic, he was even a law student, but he was also a monster. This is the paradox of Ted Bundy.
Okay, let's just start with a single, chilling number, 30. That is the number of murders Ted Bundy confessed to. And you have to wonder, right? Some officials think the real number could be way, way higher. This one number alone just sets the stage for the terrifying scale of what he did.
So, the big question is, how does a guy who seems to have everything going for him become one of history's most infamous killers? To get it, we really have to look past those shocking headlines and try to understand the man the world thought it knew.
I mean, the official definition is so simple, it's almost clinical. An American serial killer and rapist. But that feels like calling a tidal wave a bit of a splash. It just doesn't even begin to capture the true horror of it all.
Because this is the really unsettling part of the whole story. The person he showed the world was a complete fabrication, a world away from the monstrous reality he was hiding. And it's that gap, that huge chasm between the two, that makes his case so deeply disturbing.
So to even try to make sense of this paradox, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. The sources we have paint a picture of a really difficult childhood, and that might just hold some of the clues.
Yeah, when you look at the records, his childhood was anything but perfect. He had a really strained relationship with his stepfather, and on top of that, he was shy, which apparently made him a target for bullies. You can see how that sense of isolation might have started to fester from a really young age.
But here is where the whole story just takes a bizarre turn. Despite that rough start, Bundy seemed to completely turn it around in his young adult life. He built what people later called a mask of sanity, and it was so good, it fooled pretty much everyone around him.
I mean, on the surface, this guy was the all-American dream. He was smart, incredibly charming, and killing it in college. He had girlfriends, he had friends, he had a future that looked incredibly bright. He was literally the kind of person you'd want as a neighbor, which of course makes what was really going on just absolutely terrifying.
And this, right here, just lays it all out. It's the core paradox. On one side, you've got this public face, smart, successful, totally normal. And on the other, this hidden reality, a vicious predator. This wasn't some monster hiding in the shadows. This was a monster hiding in plain sight.
Okay, so let's follow how that hidden reality just exploded into a wave of violence that cut across the entire United States. That mask of his, it's what allowed him to move around and to kill without anyone suspecting a thing for years.
For 4 solid years, Ted Bundy was like a ghost, just leaving this trail of terror wherever he went. From the Pacific Northwest, down through the Rocky Mountains, and then all the way to the beaches of Florida. He was constantly moving, hunting with this chilling precision.
You know, when you see it mapped out like this, it really hits you. The scope is just terrifying. He never stayed in one place for long. He used the anonymity of travel, moving from one state to the next, which made it almost impossible for law enforcement to connect the dots.
So for years, he just kept getting away with it, evading capture and continuing his spree. The question is, how was this killer, who is so good at hiding in plain sight, finally brought to justice?
Well, once he was finally caught, the wheels of justice started turning. His trial was, as you can imagine, a complete media circus. The charming law student was now facing the consequences, and he was sentenced to death, not just once, but twice, for his horrific crimes, including the murder of a 12-year-old girl.
That's right, 2. The courts in Florida handed down 2 completely separate death sentences. It really underscores just how severe his crimes were and how certain the justice system was of his guilt.
But the legal battle, it was a long one. You can see it here. He gets the first death sentence in '79, another one in '80. But it wasn't until 1989, after a decade of appeals, that the final chapter of his life was finally written.
And that was it. On a January morning in 1989, the man who had terrorized a nation for over a decade was executed. The mask of sanity was finally and permanently gone.
But the end of his life wasn't the end of his story's impact. Bundy's case forces us all to face this really terrifying idea that the most incredible evil can be hiding behind a face that looks just like yours or mine. And it leaves us with this question that honestly still haunts us today. How does a mask of normality hide a monster?